Hey everybody, this is Andy. I'm an atheist and I'm reading through the Bible before getting into this reading of the book voted most likely to inspire the Crusades. I just want to mention some of the other projects I am working on these days. In case you don't know, I co-host this lovely little podcast called The Naked Diner with Jack Matirko. The Naked Diner is an interview show with all kinds of great people on it as guests. We've had authors, comedians, scientists, movie makers as guests on the show. It's a lot of fun. It's quirky. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Okay, down to business. We're in the book of Exodus. God already told Moses about the magic stones Moses is supposed to use to communicate with God. Really, I'm not making this up. You have to look at the last video to look at the magic stones, or to listen about the magic stones. In chapters 29 and 30, God goes back to what he loves most, and that is to smell the aroma of animal fat burning. If you were going to throw a party with God back in the old days and you didn't have a Yankee Candle that smelled like young bull fat burning, well, your party is in the trouble bubble, my friend. Here we go with chapters 29 and 30 in the book of Exodus. Let's do this thing. Consecration of the priests. I guess that's my voice I'm using for today. This is what you are to do to consecrate them, so they may serve me as priests. Take a young bull with 2 rams without defect, and from the finest wheat flour make round loaves without yeast. Thick loaves without yeast and with olive oil mixed in, and thin loaves without yeast and brushed with olive oil. Put them in a basket and present them along with the bull and the 2 rams. Then bring Aaron and his sons to the entrance to the tent of the meeting and wash them with water. Take the garments and dress Aaron with the tunic, the robe of the ephod, the ephod itself, and the breastpiece. We went into that last video. Fasten the ephod on him by its skillfully woven waistband. Put the turban on his head and attach the sacred emblem to the turban. Take the anointing oil and anoint him by pouring it on his head. Bring his sons and daughters and dress them in tunics and fasten caps on them. Then tie sashes on Aaron and his sons. I don't think the TSA would allow him to go onto airplanes in the airport dressed like that. The priesthood is theirs by a lasting ordinance. Then you shall ordain Aaron and his sons. Bring the bull to the front of the tent of the meeting, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on its head and slaughter it in the Lord's presence at the entrance to the tent of the meeting. Take some of the bull's blood and put it on the horns of the altar. With your finger, and pour out the rest of it on the base of the altar. Then take all the fat on the internal organs, the long lobe of the liver, and both kidneys with the fat on them, and burn them on the altar. That's how Nana used to like it, the fat around the liver. You just burn it on the altar. But burn the bull's flesh and its hide and its intestines outside the camp. It is a sin offering. Take one of the rams, and Aaron and his sons shall lay their hands on its head. Doesn't look good for the rams. Slaughter it, and take the blood and splash it against the sides of the altar. Cut the ram into pieces, and wash the internal organs and the legs, putting them with the head and the other pieces. Then burn the entire ram on the altar. It is a burnt offering to the Lord, a pleasing aroma, a food offering presented to the Lord. I guess the food offering is what the priests take to feed themselves. Take the other ram, and Aaron and his son shall lay their hands on its head. I wouldn't get too attached to that ram. Slaughter it. Take some of its blood and put it on the lobes of the right ears of Aaron and his sons on the thumbs of their right hands and on the big toes of their right feet. That's right, blood on the right toe, the big toe. Then splash blood against the sides of the altar, and take some blood from the altar and some of the anointing oil, and sprinkle it on Aaron and his garments, and on his sons and their garments. Then he and his sons and their garments will be consecrated. Woo! Consecration! Take from this ram the fat tail, the fat on the internal organs, the long lobe of the liver, both kidneys with the fat on them, and the right thigh. This is the ram for the ordination. From the basket of bread made without yeast, which is before the Lord, take 1 round loaf, 1 thick loaf with olive oil mixed in it, and 1 thin loaf. Put all these in the hands of Aaron and his sons, and have them wave them up in the air before the Lord as a wave offering. Maybe they all just went like with a wave, I don't know. Then take them from their hands and burn them on the altar along with a burnt offering for a pleasing aroma to the Lord. That seems like a waste of bread. A food offering presented to a pleasing aroma, and a food offering presented to the Lord. After you take the breast of the ram for Aaron's ordination, once again, wave it in front of the Lord as a wave offering, and it will be your share. See, well, that's the share offering right there. That's the piece right there. Consecrate those parts of the ordination ram that belong to Aaron and his sons. The breast that was waved and the thigh that was presented. I wonder if they had a panini press, if they would press it. That'd be pretty cool. Then, this is always to be the perpetual share from the Israelites for Aaron and his sons. It is a contribution the Israelites are to make to the Lord from their fellowship offerings. Aaron's sacred garments will belong to his descendants, so that they can be anointed and ordained in them. The son who succeeds him as priest and comes to the tent of meeting to minister to in the holy place is to wear them 7 days. 7 days. Take the ram for the ordination and cook the meat in a sacred place. At the entrance to the tent of the meeting, Aaron and his sons are to eat the meat of the ram and the bread that is in the basket. They are to eat these offerings by which atonement was made for their ordination and consecration. You know, I've noticed God isn't big on fruits and vegetables. Not big on those. But no one else may eat them. Of course not. Because they are sacred. And if any of the meat of the ordination ram or any bread is left over till morning, it must be burnt up. It must not be eaten because it is sacred. God doesn't want you to eat that meat or that bread. Do for Aaron and his sons everything I have commanded you, taking 7 days to ordain them. Sacrifice a bull each day as a sin offering to make atonement. Purify the altar by making atonement for it and anoint it to consecrate it. For 7 days, I'm sorry, I just can't get around the blood on the big toe on the right foot. It's just kind of crazy. For 7 days, make atonement for the altar and consecrate it. Then the altar will be most holy, and whatever touches it will be holy. Bum, 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 bum. That's my dramatic interlude in between verses. This is what you are to offer on the altar regularly, each day 2 lambs a year old. Offer one in the morning and the other at twilight. With the first lamb, offer 1/10 of an ephah of the finest flour mixed with 1/4 of a hin of oil from pressed olives and 1/4 of a hin of wine as a drink offering. Drink offering. Sacrifice the other lamb at twilight with the same grain offering and its drink offering as in the morning, a pleasing aroma, a food offering presented to the Lord. I guess you don't do the blood on the left foot because that's the sin foot, right? That's the sinful foot. For the generations to come, this burnt offering is to be made regularly to the entrance to the tent of the meeting before the Lord. There I will meet you and speak to you. There also I will meet with the Israelites and place them, and the place will be consecrated by my glory. So I will consecrate the tent of the meeting and the altar, and will consecrate Aaron and his sons to serve me as priests. Then I will dwell among the Israelites and be their God. You know, every single time God does these things, it sounds like he's like one of those supervillains giving a monologue. They will know that I am their God and brought them out of Egypt, so I might dwell among them. I am the Lord their God. I'm sure you're all asking to yourself, what about the altar of incense? Well, I'm glad, because this next section is called the altar of incense. Make an altar of acacia wood for burning incense. It is to be square, a cubit long and a cubit wide and 2 cubits high. Its horns of 1 piece with it. Overlay the top and all the sides and the horns with pure gold, and make a gold molding around it. Make 2 gold rings for the altar below the molding, 2 on each of the opposite sides to hold the poles used to carry it. You've got to carry it. Make the poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. Yeah, this is more of the IKEA set here about how to make stuff. Put the altar in front of the curtain that shields the Ark of the Covenant law before the atonement cover that is over the tablets of the covenant law, where I will meet with you. I will meet with you, but not really meet with you, because, it's God. God doesn't really magically appear, because there is no God. Aaron must burn fragrant incense on the altar every morning when he tends the lamps. He must burn incense again when he lights the lamps at twilight. So incense will burn regularly before the Lord for the generations to come. Do not offer on this altar any other incense or any burnt offering or grain offering, and do not pour drink offering on it. Once a year, Aaron will make atonement on its horns. This annual atonement must be made with the blood of the atoning sin offering. There's like a lot of regulations of blood offerings. It's kind of crazy. For the generations to come, it is most holy to the Lord. Atonement money. Then the Lord said to Moses, when you take a census of the Israelites to count them, each one must pay the Lord a ransom for his life at the time he is counted. I guess in the ancient world, in that area in the world, censuses were considered to be bad luck. I guess it's a ransom, so God doesn't kill you. Then no plague will come on them when you number them. Each one who crosses over to those already counted is to give half a shekel, according to the sanctuary shekel, which weighs 20 gerahs. Gerahs? Geras. This half shekel is an offering to the Lord. All who cross over those 20 years or more are to give an offering to the Lord. The rich are not to give more than half a shekel, and the poor are not to give less to you. When you think about the census and how a lot of conservatives don't like the census, think about that. The Old Testament doesn't want you to do a lot of censuses. All right, I just skipped a couple lines, but we're cool, right? All right, verse 16. Receive the atonement money from the Israelites and use it, for in the service of the tent of meeting, it will be a memorial for the Israelites before the Lord, making atonement for your lives, because you're dirty, dirty people. You're so dirty, there is a basin of the washing. Hello, verse 17. Here we go. Then the Lord said to Moses, make a bronze basin with its bronze stand for washing. Place it between the tent of the meeting and the altar and put water in it. Aaron and his sons are to wash their hands and feet with water from it. Whenever they enter the tent of meeting, they shall wash with water, so they will not die. Good policy, don't want to die. Also, when they approach the altar to minister by presenting a food offering to the Lord, they shall wash their hands and feet, so they will not die. I've been to a mosque. I went to a mosque once. Very clean. There's a whole ritual of cleaning when you go in there, probably based on these verses. This is to be a lasting ordinance for Aaron and his descendant for generations to come. So in the mosque, you had to wash your hands, wash your feet, throw water up your nose, water in your mouth, wash your feet. There was a lot of cleaning involved. Anointing oil. Then the Lord said to Moses, take the following fine spices: 50 shekels of liquid myrrh, myrrh, half as much, that is 250 shekels, that's what it says for those of you who can't do math, of fragrant cinnamon, 250 shekels of fragrant calamus, 50 shekels of cassia, all according to the sanctuary shekel, and a hin of olive oil. Make these into a sacred fragrant oil, fragrant blend, the work of a perfumer. It will be the sacred anointing oil. Then use it to anoint the tent of meeting, the ark of the covenant law, the table and the articles, the lampstand and the accessories, the altar of the incense, the altar of the burnt offerings, and all the utensils, and the basin with its stand. You shall consecrate them, so they will be most holy, and whatever touches them will be holy. See, at least it's going to smell nice. It's going to smell nice. That's what's important. Anoint Aaron and his sons and consecrate them, so they may serve me as priests. Say to the Israelites, this is to be my sacred anointing oil. It's copywritten. It's a trademark. No, the Bible doesn't say that. For generations to come. Do not pour it on anyone else's body, and do not make any other oil using the same formula. It is sacred, and you are to consider it sacred. Whoever makes perfume like it and puts it on anyone other than a priest must be cut off from their people. Gone. All right. What are we talking about? We're talking still about incense. Then the Lord said to Moses, take fragrant spices, gum resin, onycha, Onycha, and galbanum, and pure frankincense, all in equal amounts, and make the fragrant blend of incense, the work of a perfumer. It is to be settled and pure and sacred. Grind some of it into a powder and place it in front of the ark of the covenant law in the tent of meeting, where I will meet with you. It shall be most holy to you. Do not make any incense with this formula for yourselves. Consider it holy to the Lord. Whoever makes incense like it is to enjoy its fragrance must be cut off. There's a lot of cutting off from their people. I think that probably means you're just going to die. They're just going to throw stones at you. I don't know. Well, that's it for chapters 29 and 30 in the book of Exodus. Just to let you know, I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live event. I'm going to be talking to everyone. Hopefully you'll be there. It's going to be on this Sunday, June 23rd at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on the Laughing in Disbelief Facebook page. If you want to join me and we can chat, the link to the page is below in the description. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe. We will see each other again soon. Bye. So long.